All right, welcome to another edition of Quick Computer Tips. My name is David Maxey. I'm the creator of the blog Everyone Use Computers. Thanks for tuning in to this screencast here today. We are going to talk about how to install a printer on Windows 7, and I'm going to give you 6 easy things to do in order to install a printer, whether it's a brand new printer or a printer that is the first time you've ever installed on a particular computer. Just to begin here, you're looking at my desktop of my actual laptop computer. Don't let that confuse you. But I'm going to go over here to the computer icon, right click on that, and then left click on properties. And it's going to bring a menu here that gives me some information about what it is that you and I are looking at here on my desktop. And this says it's Windows 7 Home Premium. And about middle way down, it says that it's the 64-bit operating system. Now, remember that information. We're going to need that in order to do step 1 to how to install a printer on Windows 7. Step 1 is download the drivers for your printer. Now, what I'm going to do is go ahead and run Google Chrome. And as you can see by the screenshot, today we are going to install an HP DeskJet F4480 is the model number. So I'm going to go right to hp.com and hit enter. And as you can see on their site right here, support and drivers is what we're looking for. And over here to the left-hand side, they've got this drivers and software. Now, while that's going there, a driver is simply put, it is the software needed for Windows to talk to your printer. And so this is what we need in order to install this very first step, number 1. I'm going to go ahead and type in DeskJet F4480, that's the model number, and hit enter. And it's going to go ahead and search that. Now, remember, we looked up what the computer was, the Windows 7, if it was a 32-bit or a 64-bit. We found out it was Windows 7 64-bit. This is where that information comes in. And I'm going to go ahead and click that drop-down menu and click Next. From here, it's going to give us, right here, it says drivers. Go ahead and click on that, and there's 2 different options. One is a basic version, which doesn't have any frills to it, just the necessary software to run the printer. The other one has a little more to it. I'm going to go ahead and click on this first one here just for the sake of our demonstration, and it's going to go ahead and give me a little more information, and as I click on this file, it's going to begin to take that file from the internet and move that to my machine. So I'm going to let it do that and go ahead and come back with you in just a moment. Okay, here we are. The file is now downloaded. That brings us to step number 2. In this file right here, as you can see, is in the bottom left-hand side. I click on this menu and I select the Open option. And it's going to ask me, well, do you want to run this file? Yes, I do. As well, again, we're on step number 2, which is to install these drivers that we've just downloaded. So I'm going to go ahead and click Run. And then now what this is doing is the file I downloaded was literally one file, but inside of that file, it was a zip file. There were actually several other files that were needed to install what we're doing. And so this is going to go ahead and unpack those files, and now it's wanting to know exactly what we need to do, and it's just letting you know there's some copyright and some other things. We're going to go ahead and click Next, and right here just go ahead and read. It's pretty simple. Depending on what your printer manufacturer are, you're more or less just going to go ahead and look at the screen and just click Next. Whatever default options there might be, just go ahead and click Next. And so here we go. It's giving us a license. We're going to go ahead and click, I have reviewed that. I've done this many times, and so I don't think they're going to come hunting for me. But here we are. We're going to go ahead and click Next again. And now what this is doing, it's go ahead and it's installing this software. Now, while that's doing that, you might be wondering, why didn't you just use the disk that came with your brand new printer? And the only question the answer that I would have to that question is this. It's always my recommendation once you get a new printer or something similar to go ahead and go to the manufacturer's website and get their newest software driver before you install that. And here's why. You don't really know how long that printer was on the shelf. It may have been there for quite some time, and so inevitably there are going to be printer driver updates when you get that printer home. And so rather than installing one and then having to go find updates for it, it's a lot easier to just go ahead and go to the manufacturer website, enter your model number in, and get the newest version of that driver. And so that's what we've done here. So we're on step number 2, installing those drivers. It's going to take just a little more time for this to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and come back with you when it's done. All right, we are technically on the tail end of step number 2, and it's going to quickly bring us to step number 3 of how to install a printer on Windows 7. And that step is literally we're just following our on-screen commands here, and it asks us to go ahead and turn the device on or turn our printer on. I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. And then it asks us to go ahead and connect the USB cable. Now, depending on the printer that you're installing, you may get this option, you may not. What's most important is that you follow this in the order. In other words, download the driver, install the driver, and then power up and plug in. You can see the printer that I've got here. I'm looking at this USB cable. You can see exactly where this plugs into the back of the computer. So my printer is now on, and I'm going to go ahead and plug that into my computer right now as the installation of the driver is instructing me to do. Okay, I have now plugged in the printer and it is detecting the printer. Now, I haven't installed any paper or any ink yet. We're going to get to that in just a moment. But the printer is now plugged in, and you'll see right here it's waiting for the device setup to finish. So we're technically finishing up the installation, but step 3 is actually to plug in the printer, both power and the cable, into your computer. And so you may have to just follow the driver's instructions as to when to do that, but know that you're going to do that after you install the actual driver itself. Okay, your device right here, it says it is ready to use, and then it's going to go ahead and finish the installation here. So we now know that Windows has now found the printer, and it's just finalizing some configuration. A lot of times that has to do with more the registration. They want you to register that printer with HP, and so we'll let that go ahead and finish that up, and then we'll come back here with step number 4. Okay, here we are back with our printer installation. We're on step number 4, which is install the printer cartridges and the paper. I've already, as you can see here, I'll give you a shot by the camera. I've already taken the liberty to install the black cartridge for you. I've taken these out of the package, and I just want to point out one thing. Let me set this aside to get this kind of out of our way. As the ink cartridge comes out of the box here, there's a little piece of tape that kind of blocks the bottom side of the cartridge. It's protection for that as well. It also keeps the ink from just kind of coming out when it shouldn't. And so go ahead and make sure you take those off before you install the ink cartridges, or you will get an error on the printer. And so I've opened this door up on the printer. I've already put the black cartridge in. There's color codes here on this particular one. The color goes on the left, the black goes on the right. And I'm going to go ahead and put that back in and push that all the way toward the rear end of that. Let me get this aligned right. There we go. It snaps in there. And then once that's aligned in there, we'll go ahead and close the door. And we're probably most likely with the HP installations, it's going to begin to do some things here. And the printer driver is going to ask us to align these cartridges. So the next thing we need to do is go ahead and put paper in order to get ready for that. So I'll open this up. We'll put paper in, and then we'll go to our step number 5. We'll be right back with you. Okay, here we are. We're back at step number 5. As you can see, I've put the paper in, and the beauty of an HP setup here, other companies do this as well. It automatically detected that paper, and it automatically began to do step number 5 for us, which is align the cartridges. Now, I'll give you kind of a shot here from the camera. What it's doing is it's printing a test sheet that is going to allow the computer to scan this sheet, or I'm sorry, the printer to scan this sheet, and that printer is going to look at exactly where things landed on this piece of paper, and it's going to know exactly how those cartridges were installed. That allows our printed items, whether it's a picture or a Word document of sorts, it allows that to be nice and clean lines, because the printer knows exactly where that is at. And so each printer, in order to align the cartridges for step number 5, is going to be a little bit different. This particular printer is an all-in-one, and so basically it shows a little picture here of how we're supposed to put that on there and let this scan it. And so we're going to do exactly that. We'll open this up. We'll go ahead and put that on the front and close that down, and then all we have to do is hit the scan button. We'll go ahead and do that now, and it's going to go ahead and scan that and begin to automatically align those printer cartridges. And then once that is complete, that brings us to step number 6, which is simply to print a test page. And so once this alignment is done, we'll come right back and I'll show you how to print a test page if this doesn't do it automatically. Okay, here we are. We are on step number 6, and what we're going to do is now that we know our printer cartridge is aligned, everything's installed, our drivers are good to go, we want to go ahead and print a test page. And the simplest way to do that is to click on your Start menu, go over here to Devices and Printers, and once we do that, we are going to see right here this little green arrow. That is showing us that our printer is installed, and it's also the default printer. That means when you're in a program such as Word and you click the print button, it's automatically going to print to this printer. You'll see some other options over here. That'll be for another how-to, but right click on that and go right down here to printer properties. And when you do that, you're going to immediately on the general tab in the bottom right hand side, it says print test page. We're going to go ahead and do that, and it's going to send a test page to the printer. We'll show you a shot here from the camera and see what that looks like. We just want to make sure that everything is working fine, and yep, it's going ahead and in printing. You can probably hear the noise of that. It's right next to me. Here we go. We've got a Windows test page that is coming out, and I'll show you this in just 1 minute. There we go. Here we are. It says Windows Printer Test Page. And so we know that our printer is officially installed and working. And so there you go, guys. Once again, my name is David Maxey. If you haven't checked out our blog yet, you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and check us out at everyoneusecomputers.com. And as always, we'd love to hear your comments. You can post them at the bottom of this post or in the comment section there on YouTube. Thank you for tuning in.